The Iranian regime playing a dangerous game, leading into what's expected to be some pretty intense nuclear talks with the United States on Friday.
Tehran demanding it take place in Oman instead of Turkey. And today, the White House agreeing to the location swap. But the bad taste has been left in President Trump's mouth, especially after he learned of the regime's attempt to restart its nuclear program after last summer's debilitating strikes.
Should the supreme leader in Iran be worried right now?
I would say he should be very worried, yeah. He should. If we didn't take out that nuclear, we wouldn't have peace in the Middle East because the Arab countries could have never done that. They were very, very afraid of Iran.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of Iran anymore. They were thinking about starting a new site in a different part of the country. We found out about it. I said, you do that, we're going to do very bad things to you.
Let's bring in Senate Armed Service Committee member Markwayne Mullin to discuss. Senator, great to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lisa.
Will President Trump get anywhere with the Iranian regime?
You know, I think the president really wants diplomacy. We're not looking for regime change. What we are afraid of is that Iran would become a possible vacuum for ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or the Taliban, or even have Turkey that would try to move into the oil fields in Iran. So obviously we'd love diplomacy, but the problem you have is the Ayatollah there isn't trustworthy. He has a lot of rhetoric, and his rhetoric, or as I would say, his bark is much bigger than his bite. The president is right. People aren't afraid of him because they see that what their lack of capability really is when the U.S. and Israel went in and took out their nuclear weapons. But he still has this, false idea that Iran is strong. And you saw, I think you saw the report, Lisa, that they ran an aggressive drone towards one of our carriers, and we shot it down. And then they tried to board one of our flagships, and a destroyer had to go in there and escort them out. So I don't think you can trust anything that the Ayatollah or the Iranian regime says at this point.
So they're barking a lot. Their bite capacity is low, and you can't trust these guys at all. I'm trying to add all these things together, Senator, and figure out what your options are if you're negotiating with these guys. And I know you said no regime change, and I understand the perils of that. At the same time, I'm kind of left thinking, what else do you do with these guys? If the Ayatollah and his crew aren't out, how do you actually get any change in terms of relating with that country in the years ahead?
Well, Brian, what we would love to see is that a leader would rise up with the Iranian people. We love the Iranian people. The Iranian people used to be very westernized not that long ago. I mean, the Ayatollah came to power in 1979. Prior to that, underneath the Shah rule, they were a very westernized country. They had more women elected to public office in the 70s than the United States did. They had more women in the professional workplace than the United States did. And so we would love to see that group of people or their kids rise up and have a leader come in. The Ayatollah is also pretty old. I think the Ayatollah is around 86 years old, and there's no presumed leader behind the Ayatollah. And so maybe just giving them some time, but we do have some red lines with him. The president has made it very clear we're not going to allow him to continue to slaughter his own people that are trying to take back their country. We will never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon and become a nuclear power in the region. No country wants that. That is even in the region or around Iran. And so we will use force. The president has made it very clear too, Brian. We know where the Ayatollah is.
Yeah.
We could have taken him out during the 12-day war. So at any given time, the president believes in peace through strength, but he wants to have diplomacy first. And if they want to save their neck, that's fine. If they don't, then the president we know is capable of pushing the button and taking out a leader like we did in Venezuela.
Senator, we also want to get you on the holdup over the SAVE Act. Even CNN admitted that 71% of Democrat voters support a voter ID to vote. And I think most Americans agree with only having citizens vote. So what's the holdup? Why can't Republicans get this done?
Well, it takes 60 votes in the Senate to get this done. The Democrats will go out and say it's racist, it's trying to suppress the minority vote and all this. The truth is we already have voter ID required in 37 states. The only states that Kamala Harris won was the 13 states that don't cover it. And the 37 states like Oklahoma, there's no suppression of the minority vote. There's no discrimination taking place. There's no lawsuits taking place. The ratios aren't there. But they're going to go out and say it's racist. The truth is the American people have spoke very loud. You see some polls that are 71%. We see them as high as 83% of the American people want voter ID. And there's nothing wrong with it. Constitutionally speaking, this isn't federalizing the election. This is forcing the Constitution by saying you got to be a citizen of the United States. Right. If you're trying to federalize the election, that's when you're trying to tell them when, where, and how to have the election. That's not what we're saying. We're saying before you can vote, before you can get a voter's card, you got to prove your proof of citizenship. Well, guess what? We all have real IDs right now, and those real IDs are proof of citizenship. You can't get on a plane. You can't open a bank account. You can't get government assistance. You can't rent a car. You can't do anything without an ID. Right. So why would we allow you to do it without voting, Brian?
Yeah, the last time Senator Schumer called something Jim Crow 2.0, it was record turnout for voting. So I don't know if that one's going to work again. Senator
right.
Markwayne Mullin, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.